This is an introduction into my computer build series. It will be the first of 4 videos. This video is basically going to go over the parts that I've selected to use in my computer. It'll also be a bit of an explanation into why I chose what and what my plan for this computer is. First off, as a bit of an overview, I'm building this to have a strong editing computer. I used to edit on my 13-inch MacBook Pro from summer of 2013, and it lasted me a good long while. The thing is that as I'm editing more, I need to have a stronger computer that will allow me to edit at the speeds I need to and not always have it pinwheeling and waiting on the processing. So I'll be upfront with this. I did go a little overboard with some of the parts. I originally was planning on building a Hackintosh where you take very specific PC parts, build a computer, and then you can put Mac OS onto it. And researching it more after I already had the parts purchased, it's not the best thing to do, because if it does kind of crash on you, it crashes really hard. And I need something that's very reliable, especially if I'm trying to make a career out of this. So these are like very top-notch parts. If I was building it solely for an editing PC, I would have changed a few things, but this is about a build of what I did get. Now, having said that, let's go into each component and why I purchased it. To start off with, I got 2 SD cards. The plan was to have PC on one so I can game and do things on a PC side of the computer, and then have the Mac operating system on the other. The other thing that I don't have here right now is a 2 terabyte and a 4 terabyte hard drive to go with each side. But now what my plan is to use one of these for my operating system and 1 or 2 games, and then use the other one for all of my editing software. I got this motherboard because when I was researching Hackintoshing, this was the one that was highly suggested. I believe Tony Mac X86 had it on one of their build logs, actually had it on several of their build logs. I also remember seeing it on Hackintosh store. The concept that I chose to follow through with the parts is building your own computer. Yes, you have the option to always add more to it, but I wanted to pick good once. So once I get it running, I don't have to keep adjusting drivers and things within every time I want to add a new or upgrade something new, especially something like a motherboard where your RAM is in there and my processor is in there. I don't want to have to take all that off just to change something out like the motherboard, since everything is attached to it. 2 PCI cards I decided to get was a Wi-Fi card, because there's no landline in my bedroom, and then a landline PCI card. In case I ever do get a landline connection in my room, I can plug into that. Next, I decided to go with an Intel Core i7, also suggested on the 2 previous sites that suggested the motherboard. And I wanted to have strong processing, and I believe it has 4.4 gigahertz. I wasn't quite sure how strong to go with that. I did a little research. I also looked at my current MacBook specs and saw they had 2.9 gigahertz. And that gave me a sense of what I was working with and where I'd like to go with processing power. And that's part of the reason I went with something this strong. Also with the buy good once instead of buy cheap now and have to replace it later method. On one of the last big ticket items was the graphics card I decided to go with. It is the GeForce GTX 970 G1. I also saw suggestions on this on both websites, and video has a lot of rendering, and I know there are certain ways to render through your graphics card, so I wanted to get a strong graphics card that would be able to handle that. It also has 4 gigabytes of its own RAM and has the capability of connecting 4 monitors to it, which I plan on using 2 for now and upgrading to 3 for video editing. So it gives me room to expand as I'd wish. Lastly, out of the parts I have in front of me is my power supply unit, or PSU. I went with the Corsair RM750. It's 750 watts. I went on to Newegg, which actually I purchased all of my parts. A lot of the links to these will be in the description down below. And they have a little calculator that lets you plug in all the parts that you have and will tell you how strong your power supply unit is. They told me I only need a 650 watt power supply, but that it was going to be a little close. It actually tells you how much all your parts are taking wattage wise, and I think it came out to 630, which would be a little fine, but a little close to 650 that I was originally looking at. And I decided to go with the 750 in case I ever want to upgrade in the future. I did not put a disk drive into this computer. It'll give me room to expand with that, expand with fans, or expand with more hard drives as video editing footage takes up a massive amount of room. So that was actually one of the things that you wouldn't think would be that big of a deal, but something I probably debated the most on picking parts out. Lastly, the parts that I have in front of me is the case. This one I binged on a little. I definitely could have gone with like a $50 case, just needs to hold the parts, but I went with the Fanx Endo Lux case. I went with the model that has the side window in it because this is something that I'm going to be proud of, and when I'm working on editing videos or even something as simple as searching the web, it's something that I created, and I'll definitely be proud of that, and I'll be able to see my own work inside of the computer once I've put it together. So I felt like that was worth $30 extra to me, and it's a case that looks very elegant and interesting, and I wanted something that's more than just a box sitting on my desk. It does have LED lights, so we'll see how that is, but I'm excited to be able to put all this together. Lastly, the part that I'm waiting on is a water cooler. I'm not quite sure what happened. I ordered it on Newegg, and then when I saw an email with the parts that I ordered as a receipt, it wasn't on there. They were like shipping it from China, but it got lost in the transaction. So I went on to Amazon and I ordered a Water 3.0 water cooling system for my processor, and I'll start building the computer without that, but there will be a gap in the build, which will probably make a part 1 and part 2 video series when I decide to put that in. The reason that I'm filming this is partly because, like I said earlier, something that I'll be proud of and will want to watch, but also to share my experience with other people. It's not necessarily going to be a step-by-step guide of how to build a computer. There are plenty of other resources on the internet to find something like that. The other thing is, I'm not an expert on building computers. This is my first time. I'm definitely going to be doing a lot of Googling and researching as I'm building this and working on this. So it's more of share my process with people on the internet. But if I run into problems, hopefully I'll be able to share them with other people that, as they are watching the step-by-step guide, don't quite answer questions that they might have. I hope you guys enjoy this video along with the other videos that are going to be in this computer build series. I'll link up the other videos here to click on, as long as have links in the description, along with a playlist that holds all 4 videos on my computer build series. I hope you enjoyed this video and the rest of the build, and maybe together we can learn something.